The opinions expressed in this video belonging to the participants and do not represent the views held by PPS Holdings Trust, its subsidiaries and affiliates. PPS is a licensed insurer conducting life insurance business, a licensed controlling company, and an authorized financial services provider. The information shared in this video does not constitute financial, legal, tax, or insurance advice. Viewers are encouraged to consult with a qualified financial advisor or insurance professional before making any decisions.
Hi, KG here. The first thing I did with my first paycheck, took 90% of it, split it amongst my family, mom, dad, and my sisters, my siblings. The other 10%, I had a good time.
Tsepo, aka Chipa. Mine, I need to go way back for my first one. So it's like really my age, but it wasn't much. But the moment I got it, I went drinking downstairs. There was a pub downstairs, just, to celebrate. And then the rest I gave to my mother.
Nice.
Yes. So my name is Ernest, and the first thing that I did was my paycheck. I'd say it was splurge 90% and keep the other 10% just for like splurging it in the next couple of months' time. But that's what I did essentially with my first paycheck.
Okay, Theo, my first paycheck. So it's technically a tradition in our family to drink out your first paycheck.
Yes.
I did give my best attempt at it. I did not achieve it because I had to go to bed at that. Yeah.
Wesley, my first paycheck, what I did was, I think I spent 70% of it, on updating my wardrobe.
Nice.
I can see.
That's a smart choice.
Well, what happened to the other things?
The other things, of course, you have to give it to your mom, your siblings.
nice.
We have to talk about a serious issue that we have, gents, which talks about that first paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
You get your first paycheck, and one of the first many things that you do is you say, or you say, you know what? I need to go to the club and the dollies are waiting for me. It's that time. I've made it. So the issue with that is that you end up spending more than you save. You end up not saving at all. With those lessons in place, what structure have you guys followed to just get better? Some people follow the general rule of the 50-30-20 split. 50 is just to pay the bills you need to, 30 is for your wants, 20 is to save and pay off debt. What are some of the methods that have worked for you guys?
Look, one of those methods, right, is understanding that this whole process is a trial and error process.
Yeah.
So what you're going to start off with at the age of 21, 22, not necessarily going to be the same mindset that you're going to have when you are 35 years old. So essentially opening yourself up to those sort of learnings and learning from everybody else. How do you essentially split up your finances, etc., budgeting, getting into those sort of meaningful discussions with your friends? It isn't always about chatting about what's going to happen this weekend, what's going to happen, when are we going out again, but having these sort of insightful conversations with one another. That is essentially really imperative. So
Yeah, I think not to promote irresponsibility.
Yeah.
But I think that first one, it might be better to actually just have, like we did. Like you do stuff with it, you do something fun because it's that first one.
Yeah.
So it's
Celebrate
okay.
yourself,
Obviously, pay your rent.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
be dumb. But do something extravagant with the first one, and then you're like, okay, I did it with the first one. The second one is when you start being very responsible. I think that's the best strategy to do it. And with budgeting, yes, there's formulas, yes, there's cheat codes, how to do it, but it always changed. When you're at varsity, you get an allowance, you spend it in X way. When you start working, you're going to you rent your first place, or if you're privileged, buy your first place, how it works out. You're going to spend that money, and you're going to figure out where and what I'm spending it on. Do you want a golf membership? Do you want to buy a car? What do you want to do with it? But like you said, have the conversation, and it's going to change again. Once you get a girlfriend, you're going to spend more on her. Once you get married, that's going to change again. So it's going to change a lot of times. So just keep following up, keep checking it,
Yeah.
keep understanding what's going on with your money. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, the transition was when my parents told me that, okay, well, they gave me leeway for the first one where I blew it on my personal self. And then the 30% basically grew. I had to grow from 30 to kind of 70 and then the 70 to 30.
Yeah.
So that's how I got the balance. And then also after that, they started giving me advice. So they were very close to me because they wanted to manage how I do funds because I'm the only guy at home. So they wanted to see that, you know, this guy is the guy who's going to be the leader of the family ultimately. So they had to make sure that they are with me there on that transitional phase as well.
You gents are making a very important point. It's like life stage driven. You said when you were a student, you could afford to save X, and you know, when you're a bit older, when you get married, when you start a family. So I think what's important is always make sure that you have your minimums and stuff in place. You know, like you always say, there's no perfect formula for this thing. So I think how I make sure that, you know, I save, I just use the right tools and make sure that I'm flexible to say if there's a different life event happening now, maybe there's a new kid in the family and I could save 30%, now I must just downscale a bit and save 25, then I do that. And next time they all grown and then you can move it up. All I'm saying is just have those tools in place and those minimums to make sure that you save accordingly, and it helps a lot.
So with that, how does it work if the base of what you have isn't actually enough? You know, where you can't actually maneuver the money around in that way, and you've got people that are, you know, looking to you to help them out every now and then. You know, here's your sister coming to you when there's more month than money. She's asking for airtime. You know, what are we gonna do about that? How do you guys approach that when, you know, you don't actually have enough to show up for the people that are asking for help from you?
Go for it.
I want to touch on your
Difficult.
point and go back because I'm hearing percentages. Everyone's talking percentages, and I like that. But most of us probably didn't grow up with that mindset of using percentages and everything else. But and you mentioned a word that I like, privileged. At times you're privileged enough to get straight out of varsity, get a great job, be able to afford these things. But at times you get a job and you're more excited about the job than the pay. And then the money comes and then you're like, oh, it's month end, what do I do now? And as you said, your sister comes, hey, bread. Your friend comes, I need money for transport. As I said, I was fortunate enough to give my mother my first paycheck. So in terms of transport, I knew I was sorted because I wasn't going to spend most of it because I needed to get to work. That's what most people forget. So if you're not in that privileged position where you have the right amount of money, where you can start splitting these percentages, and you also need a great advisor or somebody that can advise you. It might not be a financial advisor, but it could be a parent, it could be someone. And let's say they also have bad spending habits. So it also goes back to, so if you don't have that, the key part of how you use your money is, and this is what I've noticed, it's not what you love and what you want. It's definitely what you need.
Yeah.
Allocate that money to what you need. Your basic needs are always the first thing. And as always, this is not financial advice. But if you're going to take your first paycheck and then go spend it, blow it on drinks, next thing you come back, you want to do the percentages, you already spent your grocery money on drinks. So it's definitely targeting the needs, and everything else will probably fall into place.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like a holiday. So that's why I, at the beginning, said use the first one, only the first one, or a percentage of it, or whatever. Because I think the easiest thing to fall into when you start working is to have lifestyle creep. You've had this dream, you want to start working, and then all of a sudden you set yourself up with a lifestyle you can't afford. So it's sort of like a philosophical thing as well. Be present, but be realistic of where your presence is. So enjoy yourself, make sure you have a portion of it, or even if it's a few $100 that you know, I'm gonna go to a restaurant or have a nice meal somewhere, that's fine. But make sure you can meet what you need to make, and don't have stupid debit orders. I think that's the first place to cut it.
And at the end of the day, like, be selfish with your with your funds, and be selfish with your time also. Like, there is a limitation to that statement, obviously. But if I'm always going to want to be looking out for the next person and for the next person and for the next person, when am I going to be focusing on what I need and what my family needs? So being focused in regards to, being a little bit more selfish in regards to where do you want to be, and then focusing on that. I mean, I think my sister will forgive me the one time I say no, if she knows where it is going. But also, like, that's a minor thing. There's also major things, to be honest, like your big expenses later on in life when you're starting to get some liabilities, and life made getting debt so easily. So your credit cards, your clothing accounts, things like that, it's so accessible. Like, they're going to give you that, that liability. It's up to us whether or not we need it, or do we need it for the next person.
So I know you gents know exactly what men flu is. Can someone tell me what men flu is in simple terms?
Well, it's a disease worse than anything you can imagine. It's something where once you get it, you need everything to be done for you. And I've heard from some older mentors of mine that once you get married, it gets even worse. So it's important for a wife and a mother to understand that when a boy is sick, it's very rough.
You need to go get that blanket that sits at the top of the wardrobe.
Yeah.
That one that's for winter.
Not us, eh? We mustn't get it, they must get it for us.
So with saying that, and you know, the silly joke or the running joke of men flu, what actually happens when you're ill or you're like unable to work? How do you protect your income in instances like that?
So, a wise man once told me, right? Well, I'll pose the question. What did you guys say is your biggest asset, actually? Like your biggest asset that you own at the moment?
Oh, definitely my whole self and my income.
There you go. That's 100%.
Without me, I can't make anything. But then the income,
110%, and that is important to understand, is the mere fact that your biggest asset at the end of the day is your ability to make an income.
Absolutely.
So what happens if that ability is removed from you? I mean, you get into a car, something, God forbid something happens. Like, is there a backup plan? Did you even think about this, to be honest? How many accidents are there on the road? How many people are there in the city, etc.? You look at things like that and just be a bit more mindful in regards to what is actually around you, what's happening in our environment around us, so that we can actually take the proper steps going forward to make sure that in the event something happens, there is either some sort of an emergency fund that I can cover my expenses with, there is some sort of protection or cover that I can ensure that I get in regards to that happening. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
You said income now, and now I'm thinking to myself that, you know, as a man, you know, you think about certain things that, okay, sometimes, like you were saying, speaking to your point, that you are realizing, you get to a point you realize that this income that I'm doing for my employer is just not enough. And you somehow think about something external from that. You start thinking about some side hustles. And then well, I want to know that what is it that somehow in that that separates you from the usual duty, you know, because it's an income, but there's something that we call usual duty as well.
Yeah, I think, like you said, income's your biggest asset, and you have a lot of dependents. And just like for the previous question and the thing we discussed, people are going to need stuff from you. So you're going to have dependents, but then, like you said, myself is also probably my biggest dependent. So it's important to protect that income. And like you said, emergency funds is a good solution to that. But I think covering that for when you get that man flu, which is vicious in itself, it's important to have that so that you can continue being you and live up to your full potential and not have the stress. Because there's nothing worse for a sickness than having the stress of, oh no, I have to go in, work at a subpar level just to get something out. Then your performance is going to drop. And if you have any pride in yourself, especially as a professional, then that's going to impact your reputation. It's going to impact your quality of work. So it's important to get cover for that.
Absolutely.
And, as far as I understand, there's quite a lot of products out there that are either income protection. We have to like prove that you lost some income because you were sick or injured. And there's also products that when you are just sick for an extended period of time, you can get a doctor's note, you can get a specialist note, and then that pays out the income that you lost or would have earned if you were not sick, which is a great solution, I think. I don't know what you guys...
No, absolutely.
It's a brilliant solution, because oftentimes you think of the physical things that you can touch, your phone. Like, I was privileged to watch an episode where you were talking short-term insurance, and I'm like, if you can think short-term and think of losing a ring, think of losing a watch, why can you not think of what if something happens to you as a person? We forget that, as you said, you are the reason why you are making the money. Just as like in any job, they can say that tomorrow you can be replaced. That's true.
Yeah.
And if you get replaced from your employer,
Yeah.
what things do you have in place? Whether it be another job, that the thing with another job is that you end up chasing the money, whereas instead of chasing the money with the money that you already have, how do you then make that money sustain you in places where, whether it be through investments, whether it be through a policy that you're speaking about, income protection. And that's one thing that a lot of people, and myself included, don't think about it. Like in terms of when we're talking about it now, I'm like, "Eish, what if something happens?
So,
Something-"
exactly.
Yeah.
So how
Do
do
I
you,
have something in
so,
place?
so how do you know what kind of protection is right for you?
Yes.
What are the different types of cover and protection that can ensure that you're in a safe position?
Yeah. You asked a question earlier, H, around what do we do where you really trying your best to save, but there's just so many family responsibilities. And income is our biggest asset. Us as men, most of us are not, I'll use the word breadwinners, but you like head of the family, you run that household. And you cannot afford to lose your income. So Annie mentioned that you could drive out, something happens. Sometimes it's not only death. You could lose your hand, you can get sick. You spoke about man flu. I think for me, it always goes back to that thing of having the right conversations, receiving the right information, and reading more, man. Use these institutions that offer these things. Theo touched on protection solutions. You can have, it can also sometimes be like retrenchment, but if you think about being sick and not being able to work, make sure that, and it starts small, right? Once you earn a slightly smaller income before you even get increases, you can afford to take a policy for your income in case you lose your income. Then it's a cheaper premium, sort of. By the time you escalate, you already have a solution in place, then things are easy. And to answer your question, how do we protect our income? I think simple answer is seek the right information, get the right solutions, and make sure that you cover your income across the whole spectrum. So there's different solutions. Make sure that if anything happens to me and my ability to work, because it's not only about being bedridden. Sometimes you can still be at home, but you engineer or something or whatever, but you can't use your hands. But now you're not able to do something, but you can do something else. So have policies that will make sure that if you are booked off for a certain period, you still get your income. And ideally, maybe my parting shot is ideally, let's also look at institutions that do not aggregate. What's the simple word? That don't check if you are still earning an income. Theo said that even as long as you're not able to work for X amount of days, get the full payout. They are out there. Speak to your advisor, you'll get something like that.
So how does it actually feel, or have you guys ever felt the feeling of not being able to provide for your dependents? How does that feel?
worst.
I want to speak more to the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think feeling-wise, it's a daunting thing.
You feel like
you
a
said,
failure.
you become the
Yeah.
breadwinner. You're like the hero in the family, for example. And then if you can't earn, then all that potential and all that trust that's been put in you is gone. So that's an added amount of pressure that we take on for ourselves. And look, I'm a big sports guy, so generally when I think about these things, I try and equate it to what sports people go through. So great sportsmen, like I'm a big American football fan and also watch European football or soccer. Those guys come through at a young age, and then they get these massive contracts, millions and millions of pounds or dollars that come through. But generally in those contracts, there's a portion of their salary that's guaranteed, and the rest is bonuses or etc. Right? So they have the ability, if you're an NFL guy and you get injured, you have guaranteed money that pays out when you're injured. But some of them don't have guaranteed money.
Yes.
And we have to be realistic to ourselves. I'm probably not going to make it, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to be not going to be a big sports star. But in general
You
employment,
never know.
we can still hope. But in general employment, you don't have guarantees. You get some through a company, you might get some income
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah.
So it's your responsibility to make sure you build up those guarantees for yourself. So how do you do that? You generally get some sort of income protection, a sickness cover, or disability product. Because you need to be able to answer all the ifs.
Yes.
To not feel the dread
Exactly.
of being the breadwinner and
Yes.
not having that feeling of what if I can't use my hands anymore
Yeah.
and I'm a physiotherapist.
Yes. Exactly.
So, coming back to the prompt of question as well. Now, going back, right? Growing up in the household, and yeah, my dad was like the main source of income. My mom was at home, etc. So there was a decent amount of pressure. You handled it brilliantly. But I could see there was situations growing up where you can see something is a bit off as a child.
Yeah.
You can feel like, okay, cool, maybe I'm not getting the chocolate I wanted, or maybe it's this, or maybe they're just a little bit on edge also. And if a parent that's trying to hide that stuff from the kid, and the kid can still feel it. Now picture the pressure going through, the pressure that's placed on the parent themselves as well. So that in itself, well, seeing the effect that it had on them had an effect on me as well, so that I can possibly learn from this lesson as well, so that I can not be in that same predicament as well. And yeah,
for me, it's the most hardest and toughest thing to deal with. You spoke about feeling. I don't even think, gents, and I'm sure you agree, we can't even explain what you feel if you go through that. It's so painful and sad. It's too difficult. But I think what's also important, it's what it does to your confidence as a man, right? And how you show up. Because like you, this one person that's been taking care of the family, and it affects your morale, man. Sometimes you're a sports person, how you show up at practice, how you show up for matches, and it's that thing that's anchored around your income that's affecting these other elements of your life. So the feeling is out of this world, and I think we should do everything we can and take every measures we can to protect our income, because it's unexplainable.
But I love how you just explained it, and
Yeah.
then at the end you said it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
No, you articulated it very well. And just to also add my 2 cents on the matter is, I also like the earlier point that you mentioned, that it's about sickness or disability, or sickness and disability. Because
Physical illnesses.
oftentimes you protect from death. And I think I go
Yes.
back to that because that was my initial thought.
Yes.
And as you go into it, I'm like, actually the ability to actually
Yes.
earn an income,
Yes.
just that part in itself is where it lies, the ability to earn an income.
Yes.
So if you are capable and you can do all these things, your lungs are all great, you are still the upper,
Yes.
and you're doing these things. Let's say you work in construction and that's what you do. You're brilliant at it and you
Yes.
do it well. The next day something falls on you,
Yes.
Yeah.
you break your back. You're not going to be the construction worker. Chances are you're not going to be in a position where they let you be a manager in that position. So just that, you just planted that seed to say that it's more about the ability to make that income. And if you can protect that, then you know that even at like those moments, you
Yeah.
know that something at least coming back,
Ex-
your kids will want chocolate.
Life
You're not going to be there like,
continues.
go find that chocolate. You can actually just say, no, let me get you something. And also the feeling as well.
Yes.
That thing, as a man, you also want to show up,
Yes.
just saying that this is what I'm doing. for the
Yes.
fa- Not that there's other people that can't do, but you said it. You're a superhero. That's exactly what you are,
Yeah.
and you would like to be seen as that. Anything less, you feel like you're not actually showing
Exactly.
up.
You want it to stay like that.
So
Yeah.
Also, it demeans you, somehow as a man, because as a man, you want to be a protector,
Yeah.
Fact.
But at the same time, remember, that's why I was asking those questions, to say that, yes, the protection part is there, but also the other element, when we were talking about men flu earlier on, is that, it's the ability to do. When you can't do certain things as a man, you
affects
feel like
Yeah.
you are dead. But at the same time, when you can't protect,
Yeah.
at the same time, and also when we're talking about income at the same time, income has the ability to make you feel like a man, because you've got that tangible cash,
Yeah.
that'll actually make you protect your family. But at the same time, make you feel like a man because you're doing something. You're a
Show up
professional.
better. Yeah.
Understand? So this is why I was like throwing in the ways like usual duty,
Yeah.
and also he mentioned something like protection of income as well. Those are two different components that I was trying to bring to the color of the conversation.
Yeah.
That's why I was bringing it to
important.
the chance to say that, look, let's bottle it nice and see what are the parts of this income that we need to protect. You understand? Because it goes beyond just protecting the income, but also protecting your usual duties.
As-
Understand?
Yeah, so we've spoken a lot about this income protection, but I've got a nice, interesting question. Do you guys remember your first job that you got paid for? You know, even if it was 50 Rand, I'll use myself as an example. I know when I was a kid, I got paid to basically kind of be a construction worker. I used to do it with my friend, and you know, I'd have to pick up like some of the rubble and everything, and then put it on the bucket, and I'd get like $70 for the day. You guys remember the first time?
Which year was this?
Yeah.
Can you guys remember the first time you had a job that got you some money?
Yeah, on my side, like it was like professionally was not professionally but inverted commas. It was basically I was studying, so busy studying, etc. And it was like a sales agent, so working at one of the retail stores, part time every weekend. You'll find me there, and even though like I spend my weekends there, it gave me a sense of purpose. Like it gave me a sense of fulfillment. Like, look, I don't need to go to my parents and ask them, look, can you please spot me? I want to go have a lovely night tomorrow. Can you guys spot me for some cash? So the mere fact that I could actually cash that out by myself from my actually hard work, that settled so amazing. It kind of made me feel like a man at the time growing up. So that was really precious on my side, yeah.
You were very lucky. You picked up rubble and got paid 70
Like
bucks.
me.
You did it for free. You got nothing. You picked up freaking bags of cement and you did nothing. But for me, yes, I was a voters roll officer.
Wow.
You know, when you go vote, elections are coming, by the way. And then I was a nail inker. You know that person that puts that.
I know we vote. We
If
vote.
I knew you, Theo, and you gave me problems at school, man, I'll put that thing on your finger. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, my first paycheck, or rather my first buck, was when I just finished school, and I was trying to get something, you know, for myself. And then this one lady called me and said, listen, we have one of the voting stations. Elections are coming up. Just come through with one or two people. And then I went, got that. And yeah, man, I think I got, at the time, it was 250 Rand or something like that. So such a small amount. But it made a massive difference, you know. And like I said, we got so accustomed to or used to doing stuff for free because that's how we grow up. It's culture. There's a construction happening and then you need to pick up something. It's for free. It's done. It's culture. But when that lady called me in, I actually thought it was going to be for free, but then I got something out of it, and it was cool. It was cool at the time.
What about you, Wesley? Do you have a story?
Well, yeah, not really, but yeah, I think, you know, it was that promo job, you know, just promoting on weekends and all sorts of things. Yeah, so yeah, also at that time it spoke to me because, I mean, at that time I was in my prime and also, you know, get to go to these spots, you know, nice party spots, you know, and also I was making money out of it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it used to give me nice money and also nice exposure.
Yeah. See the right people.
Yeah.
Y'all are talking about, like, I'm hearing you guys talk about 250s and 70 rands. I'm like, hey, you got paid? Mine is a funny one because it was one of those in December, around Christmas time. You know, when you go to a mall and you buy gifts, and then there's little stations where people wrap your gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
love those guys.
yeah. Oh, so you would have loved me.
Yeah.
So,
Can't rap.
so yeah. So
They do a brilliant
back
job.
then I think it was high school days. The opportunity came, like, come through.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity. We're looking for young people. I'm like, I'm there. I
Raise
need
your
December
hand.
money. Still drinking cold drink, so I don't need much. You know, I'm
You
like, I
save.
need that $70. So you get there. There's a transport that collects you from the school. They take you to the different malls. You get dropped off. Do all the wrapping. it's me, Baba. Toys, you know, kids. That's why I got my love for interacting
Yeah.
with people. You wrap the gifts nice, they look nice. Then they drop you home. They're like, no, we'll pay the school to pay you. Buffet. There was a garden in our own at school with the money that was supposed to come to us. But yeah, that to my school, if you're seeing this, thank you. But yeah, no, it was one of those where I would have loved to get the money for myself.
Yeah.
But again, volunteering. It
Yeah.
came across as volunteering.
Yeah.
But because they did get paid for some of the things. So
But I'm sure the feeling was great, Mr. Pana, seeing
that
when you
is
wrap
exactly
this thing
it.
for someone and then,
They
you know, the
appreciate.
smile on their face.
it's
and
yeah, it's yeah.
I would have given you a tip.
And we weren't allowed to take tips. That's another thing. So at the back of my
Sneak
mind,
one, see.
the memory was like it's that feeling again of the ability to do something for
Yeah, yeah,
somebody,
yeah.
knowing that, you know, and hoping that I'll get paid. So my first paycheck was something else, but later that's another story. But yeah,
Yo, I think my first job, I don't know if it's a job, but it was sort of my first venture into business. So I don't know if they do this at other schools, but Afrikaans schools have this entrepreneurship day thing.
Yeah.
So I had my little stall. I think I had like I sold cookies, and I had like a propspoeg competitie. That's like where you spit the, yeah. And like whoever gets the furthest wins something.
Yeah.
So I also then later didn't make enough money, so I asked my mum to buy me some soft drinks, and I also started selling that. And I thought I smashed that day. Yo, I had so many people, everyone wanted to play, everyone wanted to spoeg this prop. And then after a while, I got home and I'm like all my 5 rands in a little bakkie, and I come home and I start counting, and I was like, yo, I made like what 70 rand or whatever. And I just remember my mum coming in and being like, yeah, but I need the cost of goods sold for the soft drinks and everything. And she just took away, and there's like a 5 rand left.
oh
And I just
man.
remember that was my first lesson of like, if you got expenses.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good lesson.
Yeah.
And I think that growing up, you sort of learn that that's an important thing as well. And just to get back to our protection stuff,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of policies as well that
Yeah.
help business owners with expense cover,
Yeah.
like actual business expenses.
Yes.
When you're sick and you can't get an income,
Yeah.
you can still pay your people,
Yes.
pay your cost of goods sold.
Wow,
So that's like an important thing as
that's
well to
proper,
think.
that's
You
proper
kind of
cover.
forget about that.
No,
Yeah.
that's
You
proper.
So you basically made 5 rand, boy.
I mean, 5 rand, not a high margin, but
it happens. Parents always find a way to hustle their kids. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for more insight and more of your experiences. Really, really amazing. Awesome.
Awesome stuff.
cool.
Wow.
Did we cover everything, guys?
We covered everything.
Covered
I think
everything.
we did. We did.
I think
You said that with
Yeah, we did.
certainty.
We did. Almost believe
More
you
to
guys.
cover. More to cover.
What you covered.
More to cover.
Well,